Hey folks, this is Rob Safuto, the Director of Marketing with Raw Voice, and I just wanted to take a minute or two or three here on UC Blue, our video blog / podcast for Blubrry, to show you a few of the finer points of the profiles for your podcasts in the Blubrry community, and also give you a few tips on how to make those profiles a bit nicer, make them a little bit more attractive to visitors to the site, and also to make it easier for people to find your podcast. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to check comment settings. Now, when people visit your profiles, they can leave comments, and these settings will determine, these settings will determine whether they can leave comments for you and how you will be notified. And you want to make sure that you do get notified of any comments that come onto your profile, and you also have some choices that you can make with respect to those comments. So on the left side here, you can see the comments configuration screen. You have a default comment status. I always select pending. I like to be able to see comments before it goes up onto my profile. Who is allowed to comment? Are only friends allowed to comment? Any signed in member? Or if you select no comments, then no one will be able to comment. There's also a window that you can select for closing comments, and right now I've got 0 selected, which means that they never close, or you can select between 7 and 60 days for the comments to close. And then you have the option of being sent an email alert for every new comment. If you have the comment status set to pending, then you probably want to get an email sent for every new comment. This way, you'll know when there are new comments there, and then you can either approve them or not to consider are your podcast images. We recommend that you have 2 different types of images. One is your iTunes feed image, which will become the avatar for your podcast, and then also to bring in a header image. And what that does is it really allows you to reflect your brand on the profile, and if you have a nice header image, it can also really catch someone's eye. At the very minimum, we recommend having an avatar image. Now, you can manage this by clicking on Update Podcast Images, and you'll see there are 2 choices here. Number 1 is your cover art image, and if you don't have a cover art image, there'll just be a standard Blubrry logo that will be shown, and you can upload that up to 300 by 300 JPEG or PNG files, please. And then also a page header image. And I have a page header image uploaded for both my New York Minute Show podcasts. And you can, if you've uploaded an image, you can click to see that image. And here's the image that is uploaded. And you have the option to browse and change that at any time. And basically, we recommend about a 720 width by 200 high size for that particular header image. So having that header image, and I'm going to return to account settings, again, it spruces up your profile, and it lets people know that this is your particular podcast that they're viewing, even though they may be viewing it on the Blubrry site. So we talked about comments, we talked about the podcast images. Let's go to Edit Podcast Program Settings. And there's some very important things in here as well that affect the visibility of your profile, and also what people can do with your profile. Now, if we scroll down on the left side to feed links, and we click on that to expand, we notice that there are URLs for the link to iTunes, Yahoo Podcasts, and also Odeo. Now, Odeo only supports audio podcasts, so if you have a video podcast, you won't be needing the Odeo URL. But if you are listed in these other places, we do recommend that you add your iTunes URL, you add your Yahoo URL, and or your Odeo URL, and that just gives people who visit your profile that many more choices as far as consuming and subscribing to your podcast. Sure, we'd love them to use the Blubrry MyCast feature, but we also want to give people as many choices as possible. Also want to make sure that the website URL is correct. Wherever you want to point people for the, whatever the primary point of presence is for your podcast, make sure that that website URL is correct. I've seen some situations in the past where people maybe fat-fingered it and they missed a character, and I tried to go to their website and it took me nowhere. It took me to a 404 page. So you always want to make sure that this website URL is correct. If the main website for your podcast changes, then definitely do change that here in the podcast program settings. So we haven't made any changes, so we're going to cancel out. So I've got all those things. I've got all those things set up within my podcast program profile. Now, let's take a look at the actual profile itself, because the things that we just mentioned affect the profile, but there are things that you could do on the profile that will make a big difference as far as people being able to find your podcast. And I'm going to close some of these windows here, which I don't need anymore. Okay, so on the podcast program page, we can see this all come together. We've got the header. We've also got that avatar image that I talked about, so that when people show up at this page, they really know that what this podcast is. I have a picture of New York City. I've got some descriptive text that's actually on the image. I've got my own avatar here on the left side. I also have my description filled out, and if you want to, you can certainly expand on a description, have it be longer than something like this, which I only have one line here. But you notice that there are also the links to Odeo, Yahoo, and iTunes, so that anybody who comes here, if they enjoy the podcast or they think they want to try it out and subscribe, they can do so here, or they can do so on one of those other services. Now, the other thing to notice is that in your podcast program settings, you can put in tags, and these tags will definitely help people to find you on Blubrry. You can see on the right side, we always have a browse tags box. We have a tag page, and these tags can add that extra bit of description that allow people to find your podcast easier. So on the front page of the profile, you really you'll find all of the tags for the particular channel. Now, if you go into the individual episodes and you are signed in as the producer of the podcast, you'll notice that you can actually add tags here to this particular podcast show. For example, this was a show about this was some of the information was my trip to San Francisco, and I also talk about dining in a steakhouse. So I might add some tags here like dining, and now we see that we have a tag San Francisco. And maybe I'll add the tag. I mentioned a restaurant in here, so maybe I'll add the tag restaurant. So by adding these tags, I make it easier for people to find me. So let's go back to the tags page. Let's go to York. I have one of my posts tagged New York. And there's New York Minute, number 65. So all these things together really help to raise your profile within the Blubrry podcast community. They make it easier for people to find you. They make it easier for people to subscribe one way or the other. The header image, the avatar image, the tags at the show level, and the tags at the channel level, and the tags at the show level, the links to iTunes, Yahoo, and Odeo, the good descriptions, and one thing you'll notice with this podcast too is it also pretty good show notes here as well, with links to the other people who are mentioned. So this has been Rob Safuto, the Director of Marketing at Raw Voice, and you'll see this on our channel, UC Blue, which you can find on Blubrry, and it's U as in the letter U, C as in SEE, and then Blue as in Blueberry, And in fact, let's go there right now.